of Amber's World. It is another episode of the Black Heroes and Sheroes interview series. Now, first of all, if you are new to this channel, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. I'm glad that you found me. Make sure that you subscribe, press that notification bell, and if you really like this video and have some feedback to give me, or just want to say what's up, or I don't know, just tell me how awesome this video is, go ahead and also leave a comment. So as you can see, I am filming from a different location for this intro video. Gotta roll with the punches. This series will continue regardless. Today, I am so excited to introduce to you somebody who I consider to be an icon. I don't even know, like, how do you really sum up Uncle Sam? How do you sum up Dr. Samuel Prater? Like I said, this is Uncle Sam to me. You know, I know you guys are like, okay, everybody is your auntie and uncle in the series, pretty much. But that's why I feel so grateful to have so many amazing, super accomplished and super smart and educated people in my life. I'm gonna stop talking now. Without further ado, I present to you the one, the only Dr. Samuel Prater. There, let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
I am from the great city of Detroit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so being a man from Detroit, how would you describe your educational background?
So I would say my journey through education was an interesting one. It was a bit checkered. It was spotted. I don't know how I would characterize it, but you know, when I was in elementary school and even in middle school, I think I was, you know, I loved learning. I loved the challenge of learning new information. And so I thought that I was a pretty focused student. I think that when I got to high school is when things took a sharp left turn. So, you know, we had the schools of choice or schools of excellence in Detroit, so Cass, King, and Renaissance. And then newly on that list was the Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts. And so, you know, I wanted to sing and I was really in love with music. And so I interviewed and auditioned for that high school. And I was like, oh man, Aaliyah, the singer, goes there. I want to go to that school. And so I auditioned to DSA and I got in. But I was too focused on being, you know, the it guy and being the class clown and being popular, as it were, that I got kicked out. And so after my freshman year, they were like, you know, it's time for you to go back to your neighborhood high school, back to Cooley High. And then from there, things just sort of like petered out. And so I didn't complete high school. So I didn't get my GED until I was 23 years old. And so,
wow.
And so in the summer of 2003, so I stopped going to high school, I want to say in 1996, I believe it was, when last time I was like in school, like, you know, high school full time. And then I, you know, dropped out, and then I didn't kind of return to education until, 2003. And so I got my GED that summer. And that fall, I applied to go to Central Michigan University, and by some divine intervention, by an act of God, somehow I ended up admitted to that campus. And from there, it sort of like set me on this path through higher ed. So finishing my bachelor's, master's, and doctoral program. And so, you know, but yeah, no, my education journey was spotty in the beginning, you know, okay in the beginning, interesting sort of detour in the middle. And I think that I was able to finish successfully.
I'm so glad that you broke that down, because I feel like a lot of people who are my age really need to understand that it's okay if your journey in your educational life, or your academic life rather, it doesn't have to be in a straight line. Life happens, things happen, and that doesn't take away from your academic ability. It doesn't take away from who you are as a person. Everyone's journey is different, essentially. So I'm really glad that people are getting a chance to hear this, because here's somebody who dropped out of high school, decided to get their GED years later, and then not only that, but really run with it. And now you have a doctorate degree. So now you being Dr. Samuel Prater, could you possibly, you know, describe to us, you know, what type of obstacles did you have to overcome in your academic journey to get where you are today, because clearly getting a doctorate is no cakewalk. It's definitely not an easy feat, which is why it's such an honor and to have one. So are there any obstacles that you had in your journey, or was it kind of just after you got your GED, everything was kind of smooth sailing?
Oh, absolutely not. I think that and I was never really good at coloring inside the lines, you know what I mean? And so I absolutely like people's journeys, no journey is the same. And who needs straight lines, right? Like, that makes the world less interesting. And but no, I think that because of it though, I think I dealt with a sense of like, I don't know how I would characterize, maybe imposter syndrome, right? Where you're like, I'm here and I got into these programs, but am I really capable? Am I really smart enough to sort of like get through it? And so, I dealt with sort of like bouts of self-doubt, right? And not really fully believing in my ability to sort of like, to exist in the space that I was in. So I'd be at the table, I'm like, how did I get this seat? You know what I mean? So there were times where for sure, I had to sort of like tell myself that you can do this and you deserve this and you earned this, right? But I think that time, between, dropping out of high school and finishing my GED and enrolling into undergrad, there were lots of moments where I felt like I was nervous. I didn't feel very confident in my ability. And so, but yeah, I was always, it would take me twice as long to sort of complete a project or a task, because I was always like second guessing if the work that I was sort of like submitting was worthy, right? And so, no, I definitely sort of like struggled with that at different points in my academic sort of like journey, but I think the source of that was just like, the doubt that sort of was like creeped in and set in after sort of like being out of the game for so long, right? So when I got back to school, right, I was significantly older than my peers, you know what I mean? So I'm in class and like English 101 or 102, whatever the hell the designation was for that class. But, being 6 or 7 years older than the folks that I was in school with. And so, so that was always sort of a thing too that I had to sort of contend with in my mind. Sort of trying to focus on my race and my journey rather than being like, oh man, my same age peers are like in their master's programs or in law school or, in their doctorate program. I'm still like a sophomore in undergrad, right? And so I had to sort of contend with those sort of messages about my, my fitness or I was struggling with sort of like being fully present, and really, walking in my power, right? Because I was always doubting it.
Tell us, what brought you to LA Women Board, what's it about, and what's its mission?
And I would say, the doctoral program sort of like brought me to this work, right? It was in the doctoral program, my first semester actually of the doctoral program, that the idea for LA Women Board was sort of like birthed. I remember it was my first semester. I had a professor named Dr. Tara Watford, and she assigned this book called Back to School, Why Every American Deserves a Second Chance at Education. But in that book sort of recalled all of the different ways I experienced trauma and some of the trials and tribulations of trying to sort of like get through life, having my GED. I remember when I got my first apartment, when I started working, when my dad was like, okay, you're working now, it's time for you to get up out of this house. and I got evicted from that apartment. And that was so humiliating because, they do it very unceremoniously in Detroit, where they put the contents of your space on the front lawn, on the curb. And so that was no fun. And so I, had that experience. So I went to live with a friend of mine. What up, Sean? If you're watching. And so his family then got evicted months later. And so I come home from work and then the entire family stuff is on the curb. And so I just, then going from there to doing the whole, living, all your stuff's in the car. And then we went to our friend's house, named Candace. Hey, Candace. And we were couch surfing on her couch for months. And it was just a very hard time. And I remember listening to the stories of folks in that book. And I'm like, oh my God, I went through that. Oh man, I forgot all about that struggle. And so I wanted to sort of create an opportunity for folks who had experienced the things I experienced to support them so they can kind of get through college, because I am a firm believer that this is the way to, change your economic station in this country, right? Is through education. Early Enrollment Board is about, we try to resolve student homelessness, student housing insecurity, and hunger as a tool for student success. We want to make sure that we can support students who are in pursuit of higher education, but are struggling to get their basic needs met because, housing is so expensive here in LA, and 2/3 of our students are experiencing hunger. And so that's why, that is the mission of our organization.
I will say that, I'm 25, as you know, and I'm not going to put your age out there. I'm not going to put your age out there, but
wait, how are you 25? I'm only 26. So how does that work? We both get age, Emery. Somebody on here lying. I know you lying.
I can't. Is there anything that you would tell your 1 year younger self then?
If I were 25, so what would I tell myself last year? If I could talk to myself last year, what would I tell me? I would say, no, okay, so I'm 40. If I could talk to 25-year-old Sam, I would say to Sam at 25, do it all. Do it all. Like, go study abroad, go apply for that internship, apply and put your name in the hat for every opportunity, and let the process tell you no. I think that was one thing that I was always sort of like, I did struggle with. Again, when you like dealing with like your confidence, and when you're dealing with self-doubt, I think that you sort of convince yourself that, well, this job description says that I should have this, that, and the third, or I don't fully meet all of the requirements for that, and then you tell yourself, no, well, I guess I'm not going to apply. There are going to be some folks who are much more qualified, right, to sort of, occupy whatever space. And then when you end up in those spaces and you report to folks, you're like, oh my God, I'm so much smarter than my boss, right? Or, oh my God, I'm so much more capable, right? And then I think that, being 40, and when I look back, I'm like, oh man, there's never going to be never tell yourself no. Never count yourself out. Always go through the process and let the process tell you no, right? Because then you'll go through the process and you might find that, oh wow, the folks who let the other folks make that decision for you. For the folks who are, who are on the other side of that internship that you want, or the folks who are on the other side of that job that you want, or, or whatever it is that you're trying to pursue, let the process reveal the no's to you. Because if you don't, then you'll never know. If you don't go through the process, or if you don't, if you know what I'm saying? If you don't say yes to yourself, then you just never know what opportunities you may forfeit.
Yeah.
And if I would go back to 25-year-old Sam and tell him like legit, like go for it. And I would never tell myself no. Because who knows the number of opportunities that I robbed myself of because I counted myself out.
What's your favorite part about Black culture?
Oh, my favorite part about being blackity black and our culture. I would say it is like our ability to find comedy and humor in everything. There's a spirit of like joy and laughter and life that we, nevertheless, we persist. And that's what I love about like black culture, is that like no matter what gets thrown at us, we'll find a way to sort of like put it in a song, to still dance and to still smile, and in the face of oppression, in the face of discrimination, in the face of unequal treatment, that we still fight and we still have joy. That's what I love about being Black.
If you had to choose between a college struggle meal, ramen noodles or hamburger helper?
Ramen noodles. You gotta have money to have hamburger helper, because you gotta have the hamburger, you gotta have the meat, and you gotta have the. That means you got money. You're not in the struggle if you can do hamburger helper.
That might be a tad bit more bougie. Okay. When the pandemic is over and you can travel anywhere you want to again, where would you go on a vacation? Are you going to Shanghai or are you going to Australia?
Ooh, that's a good one. And those are my only two choices. I would say I'd go to Shanghai.
Brandy or Beyonce?
Ooh, oh my God. I would say Beyonce. I'm sorry. Beyonce.
Oh, wow.
Beyonce.
Okay.
I like Brandy can sing, but Beyonce is
The
everything.
entertainer.
I mean, she is a deity to me. And when I wake up in the morning, I always say, God bless. How would be Beyonce's name? Let's keep it
Yes. Well, Uncle Sam, thank you so much for this wonderful interview. This would even feel like this is a whole conversation. This was a whole sit down, make your tea sesh, and I'm so grateful for you to be so open with your time. You are truly a hero to the Black community. You are truly a hero for students everywhere, and I'm so excited to see LA Room and Board blow up and become the juggernaut that it's going to be.
Thank you, Amber. I had a pleasure. It was a fun time talking with you. Thank you so much. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.